Back in 2012, more than 20 first graders and teachers were killed at Sandy Hook Elementary School. So Congress went to work, and how many laws changed since then? Well, I did some research today with my producers, and I wrote down the entire list that Congress put together of all the laws that have been changed. There it is. It's blank, none, zero, zippo, nada. Now, this is not an attack on one party, because when Democrats controlled everything under President Obama, the results were similar. Nothing has changed. Congress has done nothing. They've introduced things, but at the end of the day, it's all talk, no action at all, right? So there has been some action by states when it comes to high-capacity magazines, though. 7 states and the District of Columbia have banned them. So there is some action there. Let me take this conversation over to the think tank right now, because we've got a lot to talk about tonight. We've got with us an incredible panel tonight, really smart folks. George Chidi is with us. He's a writer at georgiapoll.com. Great to see you tonight.
Thank you.
Dr. Andre Gillespie from Emory University, political science professor. Great to have you here. And John Monroe, fellow attorney like me, but you're like the real smart ones. You're Second Amendment attorney, constitutional attorney, and also the vice president of Georgia Carries. Now, before we start the conversation tonight, I want you to listen closely. I'm going to play something for you, okay? Listen to the sound. Go ahead. Give me one word to describe the sound we just heard.
It's horrifying.
Chilling.
Gunfire.
I want to read a quote for you, and I talked about this before. Sheriff Joe Lombardo, the guy in charge of the entire investigation out in Vegas, said, "I'm a very avid hunter. I was in the military myself, and there's no need to have a high-capacity magazine for any practical reason." He didn't say that after the shooting. He said that 10 months before that whole thing happened. Is there a practical reason? We asked folks online also, is there any reason for a civilian to have a high-capacity magazine? Here are the results. 63% say yes, 37% say no. Let me start the conversation right there. Is there any reason for a civilian to have a high-capacity magazine?
I think we're all agreed that the Second Amendment is going to make it really, really difficult to ban all types of guns in the United States.
Was that my question?
No. However, where we do have disagreement is on these types of issues, and I think that this is a place where legislators can act, and while there may be litigation after the fact, we can let the courts kind of decide about those things. So this might be one place where there might be, especially in the wake of this event, more openness to banning high types of high-capacity magazines.
Well, first of all, I take issue with the terminology high-capacity magazine.
Okay.
It's just a magazine. Like, for example, an AR-15, it's sold with a 30-round magazine. That's what you get when you buy one. If you buy spare magazines, they're also 30-round magazines. It's just a magazine. It's not high capacity, it's standard capacity.
What are we using the gun for in the first place? It's not a hunt. I mean, if we're talking about, an AR-15, which is a modified military rifle, its purpose really isn't hunting. You can hunt with it, but that's not what it was designed for. If you are training as a combatant, you want a 30-round magazine, because that's what the Army uses. That said, do we want people walking around in society who are training militarily with weapons? That's the broader question.
What do you say to that?
Well, it may not have been designed as a hunting weapon, but the bottom line is a weapon that was originally designed for shooting people is also very good at shooting deer. And that is the most popular hunting rifle in the United States is the AR-15.
Is the AR-15?
Yes.
To shoot. And is anyone troubled by the sounds that we heard at the top here? I mean, to me, that's what makes this one so different, right? Maybe it's because I'm hearing it for the first time, but I'm hearing all these rounds being fired so quickly, and I know there's 22,000 people down there, and I know 500 of them took a bullet. And is this different?
I think it's different, because it's the first time that we've really seen a mass casualty event like this, where it looks like the guy was using something called a bump fire stock. It's a means of simulating an automatic weapon. It's a modification you'd put on a rifle that normally you have to pull the trigger once for every bullet that comes out. It bumps and you hold your finger steady and it just goes back and forth and keeps firing. Aim is terrible, but plainly you can hit a lot of people. This is the first time I've seen this in the wild.
Changing gun laws wouldn't change somebody making that modification on their gun.
Look, I don't think the thing was legal. I mean, I don't think that gun was legal. I mean, in terms of having, if it's got a bump fire stock, that's not, we're going to argue about this, but I don't think a bump fire stock is legal.
Well, the ATF has classified some bump stocks as legal and some as machine guns. It's not a matter of legal or illegal, really. It's whether it's a machine gun or not. Some have been classified to be machine guns. In fact, I've litigated cases against the ATF to classify something as not a machine gun when it was a bump fire stock.
So I think the bigger question here is that there are lots that people disagree with in terms of gun control. So there, people disagree about concealed weapons. People disagree about whether or not more guns make us safer or less safe. There are things that a lot of people do agree on. And so there is a consensus across party lines about universal background checks.
Yeah. Ismail, we're going to continue